And we are live. Welcome back to the podcast. It's LFX Media. Myself, Podgy Carter, Antho the Great. We got the custom beat King J Pad. How you fellas today?
Bless, brother. Bless.
Cooking
Can't
and booking,
complain,
man.
man.
All right. Uh, we talking about the WNBA and we're talking about the NBA journey and the future. And they all kind of coincide with each other because if we look at the NBA, and the progress. We had a lot of pre-discussion before the pod. Me and Antho the Great discussing the progress of the NBA and the slow progress in the WNBA. But we look back into like the '80s. Um, the NBA had to make their general progression and get to where they are. So we're trying to get to the point where we get these WNBA stars more money in their pockets and more exposure
Mhm,
and more
mhm.
marketing going towards them. How you guys have you guys watched any WNBA games this season?
Yeah, definitely check them out. Like I say, we was talking about the one last night that we both were speaking on. But I think when we talk about the game as a whole, what I really want to point out is that what you're seeing right now is the popularity of the sport begin to grow as the overall quality of the sport, in my opinion, has continued to grow. And that's like with anything else. You do something with repetition, you become really good at it. And what's happened over time is the WNBA wasn't founded with the NBA. You know, it came a little later. It's something that's kind of taking time to kind of get the wheels really churning on it, exactly on how they wanted to play with it. And then, of course, we, the viewers, and how we consume it has to alter as well. Because I remember talking to guys about the WNBA a few years back, and they would literally disrespect it. Like, bro, if somebody dunks, they think it's crazy. It's off the chain. They don't know. It's not. So to them, you had to get away from the common misplaced conception that the ball was like lesser than basketball. And then also you fast forward to the overall quality of basketball today is better than it was because anything else, just like as I was saying that the NBA, as these athletes begin to start earlier, they begin to start that basketball journey at the ages of 5 and 6 and mold that game and polish that game over a longer period of time, the result is going to be a better quality game in the end. It's just natural to happen like that. So I think as the popularity and to even go into another element of it, we talk about equal pay or bettering their pay. I think things like the NIL deals that they're allowing now to happen with college athletes allows those personalities to kind of be known and for us to kind of get more enamored with the player that is that WNBA prospect or something like that. Because normally we don't know who they are. Like Brittany Griner because she was the big 7 footer that could dunk, so everybody knew who Brittany Griner. You knew Sue Bird because Larry was her daddy and she was real good too. You if you was in Houston, you was real cool. You knew Cheryl Swoops because oh yeah, but it wasn't like right now we can rally off whole starting fives for multiple teams in the NBA. That commonplace of the NBA and being that enamored with the game is what I think over time will start to happen more. And with the NIL deals, we'll start to know who these players are more. They'll be able to monetize earlier. And I think it'll all result in a better game going forward for the WNBA. I think it's all good, even with the Twitter streaming. Just more eyes on it. It's more able to be seen. I think it's just gonna make it be in a way better place 5, 10 years from now, even more than it is now.
Hmm. Yeah, the
Mhm.
monetization of the game, the move with Twitter. I actually got a chance to hop on Twitter and seamlessly hop right into a game, and it was very
Mhm.
clear. I didn't tune in for the whole game, so I didn't get to see the commercial layout and all of that. But I want to
Yeah.
stress, and when it comes to promotion and marketing, you know, you did mention like, oh, a girl dunked in the WNBA. If you follow college foot basketball, women's basketball, they were dunking there too. So you hit, we have to make the bridge connect with the college players going into the WNBA players and keep the interest going and get the people digging in their pockets and actually paying these ladies for what they deserve. Because I feel like
Mhm.
they go all out. You know, I almost would rather watch a WNBA game because they put it all on the line. You know, they not
Yeah.
worried about, you know, oh, I don't want to get in that little mix up, you know, might mess my knee up. Like they go all out. And
Women are naturally passionate, and I think it kind of shows when they get into like sports. If you watch women's sports,
hmm
the natural passion that women carry exudes through their sports. If you look at it, even with volleyball, I was looking at the college women's volleyball competition the other day. They were loving it, bro. Like when they I think it was a UCLA or that just won again. They think they back to back champions or something like that. But
hmm
yeah, it was crazy, man. They went insane when they won that championship again. So
hmm
USC or UC. I think it was USC actually. But yeah, man, the passion shows, and like you say, it's up to us, the consumer, to continue to support it so that they can benefit from it. And uh, once they see these big platforms see us putting money behind it, they're coming. Where the money is, the big endorsements, the big conglomerates, they will follow. They will follow.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I definitely can say this from the games that I've watched. It's quite clear to me that the WNBA is on the upswing,
Mm.
and it is definitely beginning to take shape, form, and notice. The main thing that I saw watching the games is that there were people in the stands as opposed to
Hmm.
before. Like it's no longer a
Hmm.
product that's being ignored. They are
Mm.
doing a great job at bringing fans to the actual arenas themselves. The quality of the product on the floor is better. You're starting to see players uh, in the women's game begin to start to emulate their counterparts in the NBA. Like there's several standouts, and it's the marquee player factor, if you will.
Hmm.
You actually have a player on almost every team in the WNBA that is what we would consider a
Mm.
marquee player, a
Yeah.
player that the team can say that this is our franchise player, and
Yeah.
and the trades that have gone down, and the way that they've been matching the teams up. The game is much more competitive. I definitely agree with Paji. It's worth watching. It's not like you turn on the WNBA game for 5 minutes and it's not competitive enough for you anymore. It's definitely much more competitive. You know, um, you already know. I tip my cap to the women. I think that they are doing a great job with that product. I'm actually a fan of a couple of the players. Um, you know, Enrique from Dallas is one of my favorite players in the league,
Yeah, I
and
like
I
her as
really think
well.
that that's really really important to give the women their flowers. You know what I'm saying? I think the girl from the Liberty, she's definitely one to watch.
I
Uh,
like Aja Wilson too.
Aja Wilson, and we can talk about the dominance of the Aces at this point in time. You know what I mean? It's really, really important for us to give our flowers to the women that are
Mhm.
putting this product on. It's been a long journey for them, so to speak. Maybe not as long as the NBA, but they fought, year in and year out for the respect that they deserve, and I think that that's fantastic. I think it's something that we have to show very very much so respect, and I'm excited. I can't wait. I will be tuning into the playoffs. I'll be watching more regular season games, and I actually personally love the WNBA myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
without a doubt. We actually got a chance early in the WNBA to witness in the city of Houston back to back to back to back championships 97, 98, 99, and 2000, which, the history of WNBA as we see it now, you know, I thought that type of launch, would have the WNBA further than it is right now. But like Pat was saying, attention is headed to the WNBA. People are realizing that it's a competitive league, and I've been down here in Texas, been able to witness um, at decent prices. You got good seats, but
Right.
then you want to think like, okay, these girls need to be paid more. I'm willing to give you $200 to sit on the baseline,
And
and
enjoy myself and taking in a good game. I don't mind it, bro. Like, see, that's why I think the WNBA just has to appeal to just the true basketball lovers, right?
mhm,
And that's why to bring in another factor we can speak on that I really respected, which was Kobe Bryant, right? If you
mhm,
look at what Kobe Bryant's career was based off of, we all know what Kobe was known for on the court. Greatness, you know what I mean? Unquestioned greatness. What I remember him for mainly in his last days was bringing awareness to the female game, to the girls basketball, to how avid he was with staying heavily involved with his daughter and her team and his team, which was his, his team. Like he had his own girls team. So his involvement with the girls game ramped up. And I don't think that if you go back to his passing and when they had the service at the Staples Center and they brought out a lot of the folks that spoke, you saw a lot of the girl athletes speak to that he was someone that really brought a lot of attention to their game. He wasn't just like there going through the motions. He really appreciated what they do and what they brought to the game of basketball, and he was invested in furthering its outreach and furthering it, its effect. So
Yeah,
I think
definitely. I
Kobe was
agree, man.
just ahead of the game. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Kobe was
agree.
ahead
Yeah,
of the game.
it sparked a lot. And then you notice that the NBA started following suit and they had public service
Exactly.
announcements and things of that nature. And I also got to give a shout out to my man D Wade. D
Mm-hmm.
Wade is a
Mm-hmm.
heavy supporter of WNBA. As a matter of fact, coming down on the news wire, he's interested in investing in the Chicago Sky, which he's
I
from
saw that.
Chicago,
Yeah.
and the players are definitely very supportive of the league. It is tied in. If you actually go on the NBA's website, they have a direct link to the WNBA website. So I think that the partnership with those two franchise organizations is coming along quite well. The women support the men, and the men support the women. You're even seeing in the commercial. I saw Jimmy Butler commercial where he had a couple of the WNBA stars, and they were, they had a role playing where they were, giving each other drinks and complimenting each other and this, that, and the third. And so it's starting to turn a positive corner, and I think that it's great for the game of basketball itself, which is one of our greatest pastimes as we know it.
Agreed. Agreed. I can't wait to see where it goes. As a father with a daughter of his own,
mhm.
who seems to, as Paji will tell you, she seems to already show interest in basketball from all the weekends I take her to my son's basketball games. And I'm chasing her down half the time, trying to get her off the court because she just loves the game. So,
Great.
with that's something that I see her already showing love for as a father, and ecstatic when I see the projection of the sport and what that could mean for my kids and my kids' kids going forward with it. You
Yeah,
know,
real, and that's wonderful, man. I tip my cap to it. You know what I mean? It's
no
that's
doubt.
we feed the need of our children, and whatever their interests are, we get behind that, and that's what fathers do. And big shout out to all you guys that are fathers. Father's Day just passed, but real quickly, I just
Appreciate that.
wanted to go in with a stat man factor, and we're going to
Okay.
give you the top five power rankings in the WNBA right now.
Hmm.
Number one, it is the Aces, of course.
Hmm.
Nobody's really coming close to them besides maybe Connecticut,
They
which is
balling right
sitting at
now.
number two is Connecticut. And then number three, right behind them, surprisingly, is the New York Liberty. And that's because they made some key trades and they're putting a much better product on the you can say the Liberty have made a resurgence. They're at number three. Washington Mystics, which you can never count them out because they got Elena Deladon. You know, if those who y'all out there that don't know who she is, make sure you go check her out because she is a threat on the basketball court. She's a great player. And at number five is good old ATL, Atlanta Dream.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, the discrepancy of the record between the Aces and some of these other teams is a little wide. You know what I'm saying? But they definitely
It's
have
a
a
pretty top heavy situation right now.
yeah, they definitely have cornered the market, and we got to give credit to the city of Las Vegas because in a major way in the last couple of years, the city of Las Vegas has really turned the corner as far as professional sports is concerned. They have a
Hmm.
championship now in hockey. They have a
Yep.
championship in women's basketball, and of course, Tom Brady has already made a commitment to join the Raiders organization in a executive role. And so, you know, they're trying to put Las Vegas completely on the map, and I think they've done a great job with it. But those are our power rankings for this week for the WNBA.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yes, and big shout out to Vegas, our second home.
Gotta love it.
But big shout out to Atlanta as well. The Atlanta Dreams, their ownership. One of the
Yes,
former players, Renee Montgomery, she's part of that ownership.
yes, she
Uh,
is.
Susan the Bear and Larry Gostiner, who actually is a big real estate tycoon, and they have to share kind of market value with the Hawks, but I would like to see some type of Hawks dream coalition. You know what I
I
mean?
think it's coming. I think
Yeah,
it's coming. I
yeah.
I was one of the fortunate souls to actually attend
Mm-hmm.
an Atlanta Dream game. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And the product, even at that point in time, a few years back, was it was stellar. There may not have been as many in the stands as they are when the Hawks play.
Mm-hmm.
However, the fans were very supportive of the team, and
Great.
I think it's only a matter of time, Podge, before that actually comes to light.
Yeah, they definitely have a great presentation. I guess we would be remiss not to mention Kayla McBride coming from the hometown. She was down here in the Spurs. She went to the Aces. She has a
You
lot
mean the
of,
Stars?
huh?
You mean the San Antonio Stars?
Yeah, that's what I meant. She was in San Antonio, close around. You know, I'm in contact with her dad. He'll send tickets like, "Hey, meet me in San Antonio."
Right.
Um, she has an extensive resume overseas, and she is a cannon with that jumper.
Mm.
She nice with it. So
Let it rip.
shout out to the McBride family. When I think of WNBA, and it seems like we ain't getting to the NBA, but it's man, it's so much to cover on this. We might have to do a part two on it. But listen, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper. Cynthia came in as a rookie in her 30s, two-time MVP. Cheryl Swoops, three-time MVP.
Absolutely, and he's right.
Yeah. Oh
Those
yeah,
were
yeah.
yeah those were the pioneers. They set the groundwork for greatness in that league.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah, they set the groundwork for the greatness in that league, man. And we have to definitely give mad props, especially to
Mm-hmm.
those two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Yeah.
Teresa, or what was her name? The
Yeah.
third one in the group.
Uh, Tina Thompson.
Tina Thompson, yes, yes, Tina Thompson. Big shout out to her as well. So,
Yes, sir.
you
I
know,
remember even going to Prairie View. I remember having Cooper was actually a girls basketball coach at the University of Prairie
nice.
View
Yep,
for a
yep, she
while.
was.
So
Yep, yep. So
it was cool.
that did pay dividends,
Mm-hmm.
and rightfully
Mm-hmm.
so, and rightfully so.
As it
We
should.
definitely got to give the props to the women. And
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, my latest season of Beat Talk, which is my personal podcast that's broadcast on Spotify, is featuring nothing but women of all walks of life, not just music. You know, for those who know and have watched the podcast, you can check it out on lfxmedia.live. You can check it out on our Roku channel. Um, you know what I'm saying? The Beat Talk podcast is featuring people, not just people in music, but people in general. And you know, my latest broadcast just aired on Friday, and it features a woman, and this whole entire season is dedicated to the women. So that's all you're going to see.
That's good,
Yes,
brother. I
sir.
love
Oh,
to
the
hear
whole
that.
season of women.
What's that,
You
brother?
said a whole season of women.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, that's lovely. I mean,
That's lovely. That sounds like the
I'm not
music
saying
game right now.
that. Yeah, be if
Yeah,
it's
some
happening,
of them will be artists, and some of them will be entrepreneurs, and some of them will be just common,
love
regular
it,
people. You know what I mean? So,
love it.
I'm opening up the platform to everyone.
I
Love
love it.
B Talk is a solid. I'm not just saying it because it's part of our network. It is a solid podcast because it deep dives, not to get off topic, but it really deep dives into the people. A lot
Yeah,
of them are producers, musicians, artists, but it deep dives into the people, the history, where they came from, where they're going. And salute to Beat Talk, Custom Beat King.
thank you, brother. I
Salute,
appreciate that.
salute,
I
salute.
appreciate that.
Big shout out. Big salute.
Um, just real briefly though, I did want
Mhm.
to shift over. Well, not briefly, but we can switch in if we can into the NBA.
Yes, sir.
I have some closing moments about the finals and the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
This was the most watched playoffs in about 5 years,
Hmm.
and
Mm.
it was a highly competitive all the way through. I got to give my flowers to all of the guys as well. You know what I'm saying? They put on a hell of a playoffs this year.
Oh yeah.
And particularly my Miami Heat, who actually exceeded expectations. You know, at first, everybody thought they were going to get bounced real early, and
Hmm.
we exceeded expectations once again. And we were able to make it to the finals and bring another Eastern Conference Finals championship to South Florida. And I got nothing but respect for the Nuggets. They were the favorites from the very beginning, and they showed true to form and did exactly what they were supposed to do and win the championship with the core team that they have. We just didn't have the caliber of height and athleticism and things of that nature. But I got to give shout out once again to Miami because Miami plays nine. They play nine undrafted players. They play
Hmm.
nine undrafted players, and they still found a way. Tip my cap to the coaching staff, to people in the office. That's a class organization, and I'm not just speaking on them just because they're my team. It's an exemplary move. It gives a prime example of when you have the right kind of culture and you have the right kind of attitude and you got the right kind of players, you can exceed expectations. But overall, I think it was a great playoffs. Every team showed, glimpses of greatness, and it does give me confidence going forward that the NBA is going to be a-okay even with these new guys coming in.
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
sir. Yes, sir. I think that was a good point you made, brother. Again, salute to Miami. Like I say, if I wasn't from Houston, that would probably be my favorite organization in the league.
Hmm.
I love Miami. I love how they run their organization. I love the history there.
Pat
Yes, sir.
Riley. I mean, you think about it with Pat Riley, and You know what I'm saying? Pat Riley really he kind of set a bar as far as being an executive. He went from being a player to being a
Mm-hmm.
coach to being an executive and finding success at every last one of those levels. And for those of us who understand and know Pat Riley's history, um, the guy's a winner. The guy's a winner, and he just knows how to draft players. He knows how to create culture in that organization. And yeah, man, Miami is an exemplary thing. And not only that, but I noticed not a lot of shifting as far as players moving from Miami to another team.
Mm-hmm.
It's been pretty consistent over the last couple of years that we have a core nucleus, and we're building something there. And I see us getting back there very soon, even if it's not next year. We're going to get back there again really soon.
Yes, sir. And definitely shout out to Haslam who laced up for the last time and retired. Love to see his jersey retired, uh, putting in work and really sitting on the bench and forming the younger guys into a class act. You know, shout out to those guys. Salute,
Yeah,
salute.
yeah,
And
it's a great story for the league.
oh
It's a great
yeah,
story for the league because it shows that you can overcome adversity. You lose the first playing game, then you bounce back and you beat Chicago. You beat the Bulls, and then you turn right back around and become a playoff caliber team that makes a really strong and interesting run. A
mm-hmm.
really strong, interesting run, and it was the feel good story of the playoffs. Like
Of
I
course.
was I was very excited for the team, and I'm always excited. I'm watching them during the regular season. I watch them in the playoffs. I'm a diehard since '88. I've been through many years of of the bottom of the septic tank, and and now we're a force to be reckoned with. And I think that going into next year, people are not going to take Miami as lightly as they did, even though the regular season kind of like is a little topsy turvy for us and things of that nature. But you look at Golden State; they had a topsy turvy thing, and as you can see, they're starting to dismantle the Warriors. They're starting to dismantle teams that had core things. Chris Paul just went to the Wizards, and Bradley Beal is now with the Suns. Or you know what I mean? And so it's a really interesting time in the NBA. And I did want to touch on real briefly, you guys' home team, the Houston Rockets.
Yes,
We
sir.
gotta bring that in because sometimes we get caught up in talking about the teams that we consider elite, and
Mm-hmm.
we tend to forget about, well, what about the teams that have struggled in these situations and are trying to find their latch and niche. I think that realistically, Houston is going to make a bounce back a lot quicker than people think. And I think after this playoffs and seeing the Miami run, that you got to start looking at some of the other teams that have been sliding under the radar, and take note, because like even with Sacramento, but getting back to Houston one more again, Houston has potential for very big things. Now, I have been hearing on the wire that they're trying to make a trade to bring Ben Simmons there, and I know that is something that's a little taboo right now in the league, talking about Ben Simmons, but we also have to realize and recognize that Ben Simmons is still a very very young basketball player. He's a young basketball player, and just looking at some of his highlights from Philadelphia, there's no question in my mind that there's a potential for him to get back to that caliber of play. And you put him with the right group of players, there's no telling what could happen in that situation. And I actually think that that's a great, if they do acquire Ben Simmons, I think that would be a great thing for Houston. And I think that Houston will be a much better team, possibly even a playoff team. I just think that's a potential and it possibly could happen.
Yeah, I do
Now,
think that's. Go ahead, Brody.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad look, I would think. And I wanted to just piggyback off of you saying Houston building. Uh, you have to destroy and rebuild. So, being a true fan, you know that those rings aren't just those five guys out on the court.
Right.
Houston at presently has five superstars, all under the age of 25, or all under the age of 25. Ben Simmons actually is 26. He would fit in good. Um, from top to bottom, I'm talking from like general management to coaches, and the very last piece that we released was the beard, and it was sad to see him go, but we had to clean the whole house. And being only a few games from the finals, actually, with Chris Paul and the beard, to
Yeah,
strip
Dwight
all the way.
Howard. Hmm.
Yes, to strip all the way down to the basics, the same way as the Astros did. They took the farm team all the way to the pennant.
Yep.
Um, that's when you have a good organization, like we talked about the Atlanta Dreams, like we talked about what's going out in Vegas. It's a corporate move. It's a move that decisions are made up top, and they affect what goes on out on the court, the field, however it goes. But
That's interesting that you said that, Podge, because really at the end of the day, we're starting to see now that former players that have tasted success are
hmm
being involved in the upper offices. You know
hmm
what I mean? The Dunleavy, Dunleavy
shout
just
out Zoe, shout out Zoe on y'all team.
yeah, Lonzo. You know what I mean? And even in Houston, I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure that there's
Patrick
Elijah
Beverly.
one.
there's alumni that are there, and that now their voices are being heard, and you can tell that they're being heard because the product that they're bringing into the franchises is a much better product. And I see big things for Houston coming down the pipeline, and a lot of people may not be speaking about them, and they may not be speaking about some of the other franchises that they consider at the bottom of the food chain. But I think that it's even
Yeah, I think.
even San Antonio is it's making a strong comeback.
hmm
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Making a strong comeback.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think with and I agree with everything y'all said, man. Like when you're building a team, it comes from the top and it trickles on down. Like I say, that's why I like the Miami Heat, because it's not all about just the great players. It's about the great organizations and the decision making and the structure that they've had that
the
allows them to
culture.
be a good
They talk about heat culture,
team.
right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
B, what do you
So
guys
when
think
you're
about
talking
this?
about the Rockets,
Yeah,
what I like about them in particular with their young core is that when you bring in a coach like the Ime Udoka, who's already proven that, hey, I know how to get
win.
young players and cultivate them
He knows how to win, man.
and get the most out of
He knows how
them.
to win,
And
bro. He knows how to
yeah,
win,
he's a
man.
winner. And
Yep.
in his first year there with those young players, we know how young Boston is. We know that Tatum was young. We know that he got a young Jalen Brown, but the the mentality that he was able to bring to that team that year that they went to the finals, he was able to do that with a whole bunch of 25 and under players. And what you see what he has currently, he's again has a whole bunch of uber talented under 25-year-old players, a lot of which are under 22 years old. So you're dealing with a whole bunch of youth. They have been, like you said, rumored to be in connection with a few vets, because one thing Ime made completely clear when he first came was that he knows we're young and he plans to bring in a few two. It's looking like maybe they'll bring in a good two or three vets that they'll give into some real rotation. And I was looking up a few names. They had Bruce Brown out there, just
Hmm.
recently coming off of a championship.
Yes, he did
Uh,
decline his option. That's right.
yes, sir. He declined his option, so he's in the mix. Brooke Lopez is. We've pretty much been the heaviest names around. Brooke Lopez has been the Rockets.
Boy,
Um,
wouldn't that be a key grab right there?
yeah, I'm
And
thinking
just to
that's going to
piggyback
be.
on what you saying,
Hmm.
Udoka,
Yeah,
getting the coach is going to establish the culture in
exactly,
Houston. What a great
exactly.
point that was, because it does start in the coaching ranks. It does. The players play, but
The players play,
the
but
coaches instill the
coaches.
culture.
And I feel
And
you've
then
seen that in Boston this year. You didn't have much different as far as
oh,
personnel, but you saw a clear difference in defensive mindset and focus throughout the playoffs. I think Ime Udoka in his first year was an aberration. This year's first year head coach was more of a first year head coach, not a bad coach in no way, shape, or form, but definitely in a learning
absolutely,
experience. So, and I
absolutely.
mean, Ime, even though he's really only had one, I guess, one full year of head coaching under his belt, is just a championship year of head coaching under his belt. So, or at least going. And coaching wasn't the issue in the end. No one felt like Ime was the reason they came short. Boys were in good positions to win. They didn't quite close the deal in that one right there. That year was looked at more as a growth process for the players more so than the coach. So I think Ime can take all of those same elements, bring it here. Another name, like I said, you got Brooke Lopez. We've been the name most closely associated with him, probably getting his services. But another one I wouldn't be mad at because what I want is to get some support down low for the Rockets. I wouldn't be mad at Jacob Poeltl, the guy from Toronto. He's only
Yeah,
27, coming off of a decent year, averaging about 12 and a half points a game on almost 63% shooting, 9 boards, 1.5 blocks. I think that'll be awesome to complement Şengün as we allow him to continue to develop. And then if you can get a Brooke Lopez, of course, you'd like to get that 16 points,
oh, you're going to
50
be a
plus
much better
percent.
team immediately when you see that kind of thing going down. It's almost kind of like the other
Hmm.
interesting moves, like Poole to the Wizards,
Yeah,
and
that was intriguing.
another surprise for other people that didn't think was going to happen was Siakam going to Portland, and
Right.
and
That's
so
good for him.
you think about these veterans coming into these teams that could use that boost, and the only thing I can see is the league getting even that much more competitive.
Hmm.
And when veterans get to a new team, they tend to really resurge. They tend to really take pieces of their game that were great and instill that greatness into the new team
Hmm.
and work with the coaches and work with the organizations and it really does make a huge difference. And I think that that's a great thing that 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 these things are beginning to happen. I'm not too much of a fan of the frequency of players getting traded
Yeah.
because we're from an era where consistency with the names on the team is what
Hmm.
really made those teams. You know what I mean? It's almost kind of
Hmm.
like with me with the shoes. I like to see team shoes come back. Team colors.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird when you look at these players and they're wearing a certain color uniform, and then the shoes are like the colors of a sucker.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah. They
mean?
got
Like
all kind
of
of
one of those little pinwheel suckers or something like that. You know
right.
what I mean?
Right. They got a
And
lot of
so that was kind
colorways.
of strange right there. I see Podge is showing footage from
Yeah,
from
that's footage right there from the draft party out here in Houston at the Post Houston right there. Awesome
yeah. Talk a
crowd.
little bit about that experience, and tell the people.
Man, to tell you the truth, bro, I really can't put it into words. When you really kind of think about what we talked about, being a Rockets fan, wanting us for years, last few years being three of the rougher years we faced. Because one thing you really haven't been able to say about the Rockets outside of about the last 3 years is that even when we had bad seasons, like before we even got Harden, our bad seasons, because we didn't really have bad seasons with Harden. He was pretty much, we were always in the playoffs. But even
Yes, sir.
before Harden, if you go back to before that to kind of give you a real picture of how it feels for the Rockets, uh, we never were really bad. We would be like middle of the pack. I mean, right? We would finish, we would never be like a lottery team. We will be like, okay, they're not quite there, but they have this, then, and so they finish in middle of the pack. We bring in Harden on the trade, bam, we go to, playoff, conference championship, we're in the mix, you know.
Oh,
And
and
then
you can see from the video the fan support is still very, very much so
it's
alive.
very strong. And so when you think about that's what we were accustomed to. We were never really a bad team. And
Correct.
then you lose Harden, and for whatever reasons that, you know, we couldn't quite get over that hump after getting so close. You know, you think about it, nobody was supposed to even, there is no way no team was supposed to come remotely close to beating the Warriors when KD, Steph, and Clay were healthy. It was not supposed to happen.
Not
But
supposed to happen.
anybody that goes back and looks at that conference finals and doesn't see that we're basically probably a Chris Paul hamstring away from
Oh, that's it.
upsetting the world, like
That's all it
really
was.
changing the whole
That's
complex of
literally
how
all it
you,
was, man.
the
That's all it
whole
was.
view of how people would have viewed James Harden was about to change, the way that folks were viewing Chris Paul was about to change. And I think it all stopped, which ironically ended on the shot that Chris Paul made to kind of solidify the game 5 victory. And in
Yes, sir.
game 5, we went up 3 games to 2, and we were up by 12 in both of the last games and ended up losing both.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say all that to say this. Fast forward now, we've been sorry ever since he left, right?
Mhm.
Just bottom feeders. And we're like, bro, we're not, this is not what we do. We're fans regardless. The fandom has never died off, but it's like the
Mhm.
disappointment is just like after a whole season of going through it, then you bring in the head coach who admittedly says that he's dumbing the roster, dumbing down the playbook to keep it vanilla for the
Mhm.
young roster. That's not what we want to hear in Houston. We don't want to hear that. Oh, we're gonna make it vanilla for you because they're young. I get it, you know, but like nobody wants to hear that. That's not what we want. So then you bring in Ime, who's is not going to be any type of gloves put on with Ime. He's come from a young team and took them to the finals. So he's not going to come here with this young team and say, because you're young. One thing he said when he first came, which, like I say, for with no question, one of the most hyped moments for me was when he said, youth is not an excuse. We will not
Mhm.
let youth be an excuse. And when he said that, I felt like we're finally taking a turn to the right direction for the city with the Rockets fans because youth has been an excuse, and I feel like, you know, forgive me, Coach, you know, Sias, you know, all due respect, but I feel that he allowed youth to be an excuse, and maybe it was in an attempt to tank for Victor,
Mhm.
but in
Still
the
didn't
end, it
tank
just
properly.
yeah, it didn't. You still didn't
What?
tank the correct way. You didn't develop, at least develop the players as you're tanking. Like, don't make me look at. I honestly feel like after the season, I couldn't look at any of the Rockets players and make a true analysis on them because I feel like they weren't coached correctly the whole year. So, you know, it's like, do we know what we can get from KJ Martin, really? You know what I'm saying? With the positions that he was put in and the under usage that he got with that coaching staff, do we know what he really gonna be? And now he's Josh Christopher. You know, these are all players that are probably more than likely going to end up being traded because they have. And KJ Martin has one of the highest finishing rates in the paint in the NBA. I'm talking top 2 or 3. I want to say he might have been number 1, but I know for sure he's like top 2 or 3 at finishing in the paint. And because he's a freak athlete. So when you think about that, you have that type of attribute, you know, that type of asset that wasn't really fully developed or fully fulfilled. It's like, man, do I really know what you could be? But we're going to probably have to trade you away because we have brought in this influx of young talent that's got to get some time or
Yeah, yeah, and that's how the league is.
yeah, man.
That's the nature of the league, and unfortunately, you don't want to see some of these players go. But you know, and that's the thing about the league. That's if there's any drawback as you know, a league itself, that would be the only thing. You get impartial to these players. You know, you get impartial to the players. You start to develop a relationship in the city with the players, and
Mhm.
that kind of
That's
makes
when we
things
got
all better.
Cam. That's when we all got Cam. It went crazy in there, bro. It
Yeah.
went crazy in there on that one.
just to show you, not to cut off your wisdom, but just to show you, this is how it was. We got Cam. Speaking of young talent, this was a steal.
Yeah,
Steal
yeah.
right
Getting Cam Whitmore at 20, I can't explain to you how crazy that felt to us in there. Like me and like I follow a lot of the local Texas, Houston sports fans, and we all have our own sports blogs on Twitter and things of the nature. No one understands how we pull this off.
Yes, sir.
Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it, it's like people really said um, he has the most NBA ready body in the draft. Is what was said multiple times that you're dealing with probably the most physically ready, prepared player in the draft. And to get him at
What's
20,
his basketball IQ like, bro?
what is it? See, that would be probably what you would have to ask the most question about, right? But then I would ask this: what are your
body.
coaches for? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? That's why you draft talent. You don't draft. He's not
Well,
a
I'm
point
sure they
guard.
drafted him
He's
because
not a point. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now, if he was someone facilitating my offense, if I was drafting him to be a floor general, right? Then you would want to really make sure that things like all around IQ was all the way intact and things of that nature. But for me, when you know what you're going to ask him to do, which is use what his strengths are, which is his size, finishing ability, he has some of the best by all around body control in the draft, probably the best. Using his size to penetrate, know how to slow up and finish at the rack. That's a skill set in itself. It's not wild and all out of control when he gets to the cup. Sometimes with these uber athletic players, you see him get to the cup and it's kind of reckless. Even with Ja, sometimes, and Ja's one of my favorite players in the league. But sometimes because he knows he can depend on that uber athleticism, he'll just flail. You kind of seen it in the playoffs when he was falling on top of LeBron and just going and literally jump right into him. One of the assets that I know Whitmore carries that I love from my bigger athletic wings is the body control, finishing at the cup with control and strength. And that, if you coach it correctly, and I was looking at it thinking like, okay, what were the red flags? I don't know what it could be. Like folks were talking about the medicals. Maybe it was some medical. He had like a thumb situation going for a little while. Um, but I don't know, man.
I got a I got a few numbers that pre, with him expected to go a lot higher. They got some numbers still, and it says, of course, he was in an elite company. Of 5, 6, 7, or 6, 8 first year students. The usage rate of 28 was at least 5 3-point attempts per 100 positions. In transition, 77% efficiency, in transition, and having probably the most NBA ready body of the top 10, top 20. He's ready body wise, and which if you look at the number one, he's going to have to put some weight on. He's going to have to do some adjustments, Wemby, with his game.
Mhm.
But of all from what I've heard, of all the top 20, he has the best NBA already built body, and that's
we
Cam.
Mhm.
saw glimpses of it.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We saw
Yeah,
glimpses
yeah.
of it. Wemby and also Wemby, we were mentioning him in earlier broadcasts. If people want to go back and take a look at some of those broadcasts, we had brought him up. We didn't really know his name per se, but we were watching some of those G League games where he was
Mm-hmm.
playing, and my goodness,
Mhm.
what a specimen he is. And
Mhm.
he put on a little bit of weight and get a couple more skills under his belt. He's like a super tall Kevin Durant, mixed with maybe another player too. And you're seeing that going along now, like the Joker. I mean, like this guy's like five classic NBA players in one player. Is
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
seeing that in the league now, and you're going to see that moving forward, I believe. So
Yeah, man. I think, like you say, you'll see a lot of this come to fruition once we actually know how it all turns out, right?
Right.
We'll see what the end result is, and then we'll make our own opinions on it then. But just one more time to touch on the Cam Whitmore situation and him dropping. I was looking on Twitter earlier, and I wanted to pull it up, and I found it. It was like Cam Whitmore was asked if he has any health issues. He said, "No, I promise you, there's not. I have no idea. I don't know what happened, but I feel fine. It's my body." He was like, "If they think it's something different, they have their own opinions, but it's definitely my body, and I don't, he don't feel nothing wrong." So for me, if it was something as simple as I heard he didn't, I heard he didn't have the best interviews. Somebody said that it was a report they didn't interview the best. I'm not here for you to interview. I don't care if you. One guy
Yeah,
was telling us
it
when
has
we
nothing
left
to
the
do with
draft
whether he was on the
party.
court.
Right. One guy said when we left the draft party, he was like, I don't care if he got to communicate in sign language. The boy can ball. So all of that there they talking about, I'm not worried about it. So
Yeah,
I just leave
it's
you
gonna
with
be
that
real
to say,
interesting to
hey,
see what happens this season for Houston. I'm looking to see them make a significant jump.
Absolutely, and LFX Media will be right on the sidelines. We tapped in with actually the head of media at the Rockets. We're waiting for a response back from her.
yes, sir.
All week long, we'll be straight gas trying to get to it. So
Okay.
we'll keep you
Hmm.
posted, let you know of our status. Either way it goes, we in the building. So LFX Media will definitely be podcast. We got some motivation from the draft. We saw some of the guys we watch locally on the local ESPN. They had their setup, and we got to peep it out, and we took some pictures, and shout out to the local ESPN. Be
Yes,
on the lookout
sir.
for LFX Media because we definitely with all the smoke.
Yes, indeed.
That's without question.
Yes, sir. So definitely, bro. This has been. I miss you guys on the screen. You know what I mean? We talk daily, but this is talk on another level. We talk heavy because we can.
Yes,
So
Yes,
sir.
sir.
I believe we the content kings. So therefore, uh, we don't sing it, bring it.
We bring
Real
it.
deal. No
We're
doubt
gonna,
about
we're
it,
gonna bring
brother.
it hard and heavy every single time. You already know what it is. Make sure you guys are tapped into the Roku channel, Amazon Fire Web TV, and also give us a check in on and subscribe at the website lfxmedia.live. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do all those things and leave comments and interact with us. We're gonna definitely interact back with you.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. It
sir. Yes,
don't hurt to
sir.
share. Don't hurt to share.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Y'all click subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out LFX Media on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on all these platforms. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Be on the lookout for Good Brother Sports Houston. We'll be having that luncheon real soon for y'all. We got some content at the Rockets draft party. We're gonna be releasing on that. We're gonna speak on that. We'll kind of dive in a little bit more focused on the local sports out this way and kind of get in
Yeah,
tune with all the local fans and let them, get everybody's opinion, and kind of bring the local community together. All our other friends out there that are in the sports analysis world locally here in Houston, plan to link with some of them and just kind of share how we feel about our young team because
right,
it's
right.
really bright. It's bright on both sides when you talk about basketball, football, and even if you go to baseball. I remember when we were having conversations and I was telling everybody then that we had one of the best farm systems in the league. And now you see that farm system 6, 7, 8 years down the line, those players have developed, and the Astros are literally the most dominant force in baseball over the last 7, 8 years. So uh,
Very
you
much so.
gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. And I feel like you look at the Rockets, the Texans, they are working on their youth right now. You got the coaches in place. We got Ime, great leader. You got D'Amico out there at Reliant, at NRG. You're excited for what he can bring with his knowledge of the game and his leadership. So, just real bright spots for the city, man. So be on the lookout. We're gonna be touching on
Make sure
all
y'all
that. We
stay
want to hear
tuned.
from y'all. Be tuned, stay tuned, man. We're gonna have y'all in the mix for all of it.
Absolutely. So signing out for my co-host, the Cousin B King, J Pad, the Juggernaut, my guy Antho the Great. I am Paji Carter. We're on LFX Media. If you didn't know, now you know. We will see you on the next show.
Peace out, y'all.